Hey everybody, it's the Ioniq guy here, and in today's video I want to talk to you guys about the state of Hyundai and the Ioniq brand here in the United States in a post-Inflation Reduction Act world where they no longer receive the $7,500 federal tax credit. For those of you who don't already know, on August 16th, President Biden signed the Inflation Reduction Act into law, which made it a requirement for all automakers that are trying to receive the federal tax incentive to manufacture their cars here in North America. So as of the signing of that bill, any automaker without final assembly here in the United States no longer qualifies, even if they did prior to the bill signing. So that includes the likes of Volkswagen, Hyundai, Mercedes, BMW. So right now, your options for EVs that are going to qualify for the current credit are very low, and the Ioniq 5 obviously isn't on that list, which is a big letdown. So earlier this year in May, Hyundai announced that in the state of Georgia here in the US, they would be building a massive facility dedicated to building their EVs. So they were planning to break ground in early 2023 and go into commercial production in 2025, building about 300,000 EVs a year. So with the IRA being passed and them losing the federal tax incentive as written, they are now scheduling to start manufacturing the plant possibly later this year, starting production in the second half of 2024. Unfortunately, Hyundai hasn't commented on this expedited schedule, but this could be really good news for Hyundai's products here in the US. So it's also been reported that Hyundai has been in contact with the US government talking about possible solutions to this. South Korea's foreign minister actually contacted U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken last night and expressed a lot of concern over this. And Hyundai is actually considering filing a complaint in the World Trade Organization, saying that this is a tactic that's used to limit foreign producers from selling cars here in the U.S. Hyundai believes that this violates a free trade deal between South Korea and the United States. South Korea is also going to seek a joint response with the European Union about the Inflation Reduction Act and how it excludes electric vehicles assembled outside of the U.S. So filing a complaint with the World Trade Organization is going to be their last resort because they want to have one-on-one talks with Washington and lawmakers and try to come to an agreement without having to formally file a complaint. So it really appears that Hyundai is going to go down swinging. They are not going to put up with this new legislation. They're going to try everything in their power to get this federal incentive back in the hands of buyers of Ioniq and Kia products. So even though I do agree that the bill is trying to incentivize manufacturers to bring plants to the U.S., I think it could have been rolled out better. I think there could have been an ease-in period where for a year, year and a half, 2 years, these automakers who showed good intention about bringing manufacturing plants to the U.S. would still be able to collect some of the incentive or all of the incentive. Just cutting these cars off from the incentive stifles expansion of EVs here in the U.S., and that's not good for climate change. It doesn't allow us to get more EVs on the road as quick as possible, which is what we really need right now. So I think Hyundai is in the right here. It sounds like to me that Hyundai has a pretty good case against arguing that this violates trade deals between the U.S. and South Korea. We've been allies for a very long time, and our countries do a lot of military activities together, a lot of free trade. So getting South Korea on our bad side is not how we want to approach this, considering the capacity that they are able to manufacture right now, which is significant. Hyundai is probably in the top 3 EV automakers in the world right now. So I look forward to hearing more news about how Hyundai's dealing with this in the future. And obviously, definitely, start building that plant at the end of this year. Get that thing going as quick as possible. So as we saw with Volkswagen's plant in Chattanooga, Tennessee, it is possible to get a plant online relatively quick. And Tesla certainly proves that as well with all their gigafactories that keep popping up. So it's my opinion that Hyundai's definitely in the right to go out and try to get this credit back in their pocket. I personally don't think that demand is going to drop off significantly for the Ioniq 5 and the future Ioniq 6 just because of this tax credit. You have people that are paying $10,000, $15,000 over MSRP for this car right now. So those people probably aren't too concerned. If they can afford to go $10,000 over asking price, they can probably afford to not have to get the $7,500 tax incentive. I heard from one of the volume dealers here in New England the other day that despite the tax credit going away, he's seen very few people drop their orders. So this is what I think is going to happen, is that even without this credit, there is such a high demand for EVs right now that people are going to buy them anyway. People are just craving them, and there's not enough supply. Even if Hyundai gets this final assembly plant going in the next 2 years, they might not necessarily have any battery manufacturing capacity here in the US. And it's still kind of up in the air how that's going to play out. But the rules for battery production and where the components for that are coming from, the materials and the minerals are coming from, that's not going to take effect until 2024. So we still don't really know if Hyundai would even get the full $7,500 tax incentive if they have that final assembly plant. They might not be getting batteries here, so you might only be able to get $3,750 in terms of tax incentive. So in unrelated news, the Ioniq 6 went up for pre-order in Korea the other day, and within 24 hours, they had over 37,000 pre-orders, which is significantly more than when the Ioniq 5 went on pre-order in South Korea, where it only had 25,000 pre-orders. So that's a significant increase in pre-orders for the Ioniq 6 over the Ioniq 5. So if that's any type of signal of what the rest of the world is going to look like, the Ioniq 6 is going to be in high demand. Now, obviously, different car markets have different preferences in terms of what types of cars they like. Korea might be more sedan-based, whereas here in the US, most people want small SUVs or crossovers similar to the Ioniq 5. But that's good news for Hyundai. Sounds like there's a lot of demand for the Ioniq 6. I know the design is kind of divisive. I personally think it looks really good. I know a lot of you don't think it looks really good. But to each our own, we can each have our own opinion about the cars that we like, and I think it's a cool looking car. I'm looking forward to checking them out early next year when they go on sale here in the US. So we also saw this past week some images directly from Kia of the upcoming Kia EV9 midsize SUV, similar in size to the Kia Telluride, the Hyundai Palisade, and the Kia EV9 and the Ioniq 7 are obviously going to be based on the same mid-size SUV platform, which is also going to be eGMP based, like the Ioniq 5, the EV6, the Ioniq 6. And I personally think it looks really cool. I had posted on my channel a post with the photos the other day, and it seems like kind of a mixed bag. Let me just read what some of you have to say about that. Aaron C. says, not terrible, but it looks like an elongated sole. I can kind of see that. Jansen says it's too boxy looking. Brian says kind of not feeling it for some reason. I don't know. I think it looks cool. I like the boxiness of it. I like the vertical LED headlights. You can see in this photo that it's going to be rocking the Kia Tiger Nose grille that's been their signature for the better part of a decade now. And it looks like it's going to have really good visibility. It's got really large windows. Looks like a fairly decent ride height. So supposedly this is going to be announced in the coming months, probably in tandem with the Ioniq 7. And with the rate of inflation and just what the Ioniq 5 is priced at, starting at about 40 but topping out approaching 60, I'm kind of worried that this car is going to cost $75,000, $80,000 when it's decently trimmed and spec'd. That's definitely putting it out of my price range, at least for the time being. If Kia can undercut the Model X by a significant margin, this is going to be huge because the Telluride and the Hyundai Palisade are already two of Hyundai Group's best-selling vehicles. I know when they first came out, people were paying well over MSRP for them, and that was going on for months and months, and then the pandemic hit, and I don't know what the status is of them now, but they were really hard to get, and people were willing to pay for them. Consumer Reports highly rated them as being the two best SUVs in their class most of the time. I prefer the Telluride's look over the Palisade. The The Palisade just has a lot of chrome on it. I think the Telluride looks a little bit more masculine in that regard. But if Kia and Hyundai can do anything similar to the Telluride and the Palisade, I have a feeling the EV9 and the Ioniq 7 are going to be big hits. With the size of those cars and the shape of them, I can't imagine the aerodynamics being that great. So these cars are probably going to have big battery packs. They'll probably do 2 sizes similar to the Ioniq 5 and the EV6. But I would imagine that for that car to get 250 miles minimum, they're probably going to have to put in a 90, 100 kilowatt hour battery pack just to get to that 250 mark. But if they want to match something like the Model X, I mean, they're going to have to put in 120 kilowatt hour. At that point, you're getting to the size of the battery in the Rivian, the F-150 Lightning. But that's what you got to do if you want a big car. You're going to have a big battery. So hopefully we'll see something about the Ioniq 7 soon. I think we'll probably see something within the next 6 months between either of the cars. But I think it's a really exciting time. Really does suck that they lost their tax credit, because that would really make these cars a lot more competitive. But who knows? Maybe we'll see Hyundai drop prices just to stay competitive, similar to what Chevy did when they lost their tax credit when they introduced the EUV and the Chevrolet Bolt. They dropped the prices by close to $10,000, I believe. So I think the Chevy Bolt now starts in the mid-20s, which for a car that gets 260 miles, that's a pretty damn competitive price. Definitely better than the Nissan Leaf, which is being discontinued soon. So anyway, guys, I just wanted to give you a sneak peek at the EV9 and some news about the Hyundai tax credit situation, what's going on with that. Good to hear that Hyundai is going to put up a fight. So what do you guys think? Is Hyundai going to win this fight? You think they're going to get the tax credit back? Or do you think they're going to just have to lower prices on the cars overall? So for this weekend ending August 28th at midnight, I'm going to do 10% off my magnetic eyewear holder. If you're interested, click the link below and use the coupon code IONIC10 for 10% off, which will get you the magnetic eyewear holder for $18. Anyways, thanks for watching, guys. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up. I really appreciate it. Subscribe if you haven't already done so. Keep watching. I really appreciate it. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care, everybody.